Defense exports to China provide Russia with a bunch of strategic benefits. Besides bringing in bucket loads of quick cash, Russian weapons generate a strategic spin-off by counterbalancing US military power in Asia. Beijing's insatiable appetite for advanced weaponry keeps the Russian defense industry ticking along nicely, and forces the Americans to divert substantial offensive and defensive resources to check China. This reduces pressure on Russia's European flanks. However, Russian arms exports to China come with a major downside. The Chinese often buy limited quantities or samples, take them apart, and then reverse engineer the weapons. These knockoffs are then peddled cheap as chips overseas, undercutting Russian exports. The impact of this copy is so large that some quarters of Russian power circle objected to sell the S-400 to China, due to fear of copy. S-400 is considered to be most powerful anti-air defense system in the world. The deal was eventually sealed after Russian analysts said that state-of-art S-400 is too complicated to copy. In this video, we will look at 5 different weapons China has copied from Russia.
Number 5.
The S-19 Mr. S is a self-propelled 152mm howitzer designed by Soviet Union, which entered service in 1989 as the successor to the So-152. The vehicle is based on the T-80 tank hull, but is powered by the T-72S diesel engine. It is designed to defeat unsheltered as well as covered manpower, weapons and material to division level. Few of these were bought by China. Chinese experts started reverse engineering the system. They faced lots of difficulty, especially in replicating the engine and transmission. But finally a decently working copy was created. It was named as PLZ-05 self-propelled howitzer. Weighing 35 tons, it can fire its munitions at a maximum range of 100 kilometers. As seen, the remarkable similarities leave little doubt about its origin.
Number 4.
The BM-30 Smerch is a Soviet heavy multiple rocket launcher. The system is designed to defeat personnel, armored, and soft-skinned targets in concentration areas, like artillery batteries, command posts and ammunition depots. It was created in the early 1980s and entered service in the Soviet Army in 1989. A Smerch unit is typically composed of 6 launchers and 6 transloaders. China bought few of these systems and was impressed by its effectiveness. Dedicated team of engineers and technical experts was set up to dissect the system, and eventually it was reverse engineered. Chinese copy of Russian BM-30 Smerch known as PHL-03 has been spotted in recently held Azminau-3 exercise. As can be very well understood, PHL-03 is a direct copy of BM-30 Smerch.
Number 3.
The Antonov An-12 is a 4-engine turboprop transport aircraft designed in the Soviet Union. It is the military version of the Antonov An-10 and has many variants. In the 1960s, China purchased several An-12 aircraft from the Soviet Union, along with a license to assemble the aircraft locally. Due to the Sino-Soviet split, the Soviet Union withdrew its technical assistance and the first flight of a Chinese-assembled An-12 was delayed until 1974. The Xi'an Aircraft Company and Xi'an Aircraft Design Institute worked to reverse engineer the An-12 for local production. In 1981, the Chinese version of the An-12, designated Y-8, entered production. Since then, the Y-8 has become one of China's most popular military and civilian transport or cargo aircraft, with many variants produced and exported.
Number 2.
The People's Republic of China bought a single BMP-1 from Egypt in 1975. Soviet-Chinese diplomatic relations were at the time confrontational, and the Chinese could not ask for a Soviet BMP-1. By reverse engineering, the Chinese developed an almost full copy of a Soviet BMP-1 in 1986. The Chinese model WZ-501 was 200 kilograms lighter and with a copied 320 horsepower Norinco 6V150 diesel engine. It had the same maximum road speed as the BMP-1. The WZ-501 was originally intended for export market, but the People's Liberation Army (PLA), which only used APCs, was desperate for a dedicated IFV. The PLA adopted a number of WZ-501s in 1992, giving the WZ-501 the designation Type 86, even though the vehicle, like the original BMP-1, was already obsolete. In spite of its characteristic drawbacks, weak armor, low efficiency of the 73mm gun, the Chinese upgraded the Type 86 in the mid-1990s. A modernized variant, designated the Type 86A, WZ-501B, was fitted with a 400 horsepower engine, a modern radio and second-generation infrared vision devices. Type 86A IFVs will remain in service with the PLA for the foreseeable future. The PLA maintains around 1,000 of those IFVs, which are mostly used by armored units stationed in northern mainland China.
Number 1.
The 1990s saw several huge arms deals between Moscow and Beijing. One of the most important involved the sale, licensing, and technology transfer of the Su-27 flanker multi-role fighter. The deal gave the Chinese one of the world's most dangerous air superiority fighters, and gave the Russian aviation industry a lifeline. But the era of good feelings did not hold. Details remain murky and disputed, but the Russians claim that the Chinese began violating licensing terms almost immediately, by installing their own avionics on flankers, under Chinese designation J-11. The deal fell apart after about half of the Su-27s were sent to China, and Moscow accused Chinese manufacturers of replicating the jet under the names J-11 and J-11B. The Chinese also began developing a carrier variant, in direct violation of agreed-to terms, named J-15 Flying Shark. J-15 Flying Shark is an illegal copy of the Russian Su-33, which was originally based on Sukhoi Su-27 airframe. Beijing-based Sina Military Network (SMN) criticized the Flying Shark, calling it a flopping fish. It has limited attack range up to a distance of 120 kilometers from the carrier, when it is carrying 12 tons of weapons. When the aircraft is fully loaded with fuel, it can't carry more than 2 tons of missiles and munitions, meaning that only 2 YJ-83K anti-ship missiles and 2 PL-8 air-to-air missiles could be carried in an anti-ship configuration. Many other Chinese defense analysts have blamed limitation of aircraft carrier liaoning on the underperformance of J-15. They believe it will be rectified in bigger aircraft carriers China is building, which also boost of electromagnetic catapults, allowing heavier J-15 takeoff with better weapons load. The appropriation of Russian technology undercut the relationship between Russia and China, making the Russians far more wary of transferring their crown jewels to the Chinese military. Thanks for watching. China has maintained very high economic growth over the last 20 years and has become a major economic power. It has spent heavily on military build-up and modernized its military forces. But China's rise, as predicted by many experts, is not peaceful. In recent times, China has been very aggressive in its posturing. Its activities are far off from being a responsible nation. From threatening its neighbors, employing corrosive diplomacy, to proliferation of nuclear tech, China is hurting global peace. In this video, we look at 5 such activities of China.
Number 5.
US congressional as well as independent sources agree that China and Pakistan have cooperated on military nuclear technology for decades. The extent of Chinese cooperation in Pakistan's nuclear weapons program has always been a subject of speculation, but is more or less agreed that without Chinese help, Pakistan would have not got its nukes. The Chinese did a massive training of Pakistani scientists, brought them to China for lectures, even gave them the design of the CHIC-4 device, which was a weapon that was easy to build. There is evidence that Pakistan's scientist Aq Khan used Chinese designs in his nuclear bomb. Pakistan, a failed state according to most parameters, an epicenter of Islamic militancy, now has one of the world's most aggressive nuclear programs. There is always a chance that these nukes may someday fall into the hands of radical militants, and result in catastrophic disaster.
Number 4.
China has prominent role in North Korea's dangerous nuclear program. The North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has overseen 4 nuclear tests to date, the earliest in 2006, and the latest just this year. From its small inception, North Korea now has about 15 nuclear bombs with a cumulative explosive power of about 50 kilotons. China's supplying of nuclear technologies to North Korea has resulted in Japan, South Korea, and the US having to face a nuclear state which is ruled by a volatile dictator. The problem does not stop there. China is North Korea's biggest trading partner, one of very few, and it is considered as the nation's economic lifeline. Hence, China has excellent leverage over North Korea. But still China has consistently helped North Korea, instead of putting pressure on it to drop its nuclear program. It has blunted many UN Security Council resolutions against North Korea, by using its veto power. Facing growing international pressure to intervene as the nation almost solely responsible for North Korea's survival, China has proclaimed the nation's containment a US obligation. It must be noted that China is a signatory to NPT, Non-Proliferation Treaty, which bars it from sharing its nuclear tech. By providing this tech to Pakistan and North Korea, China has directly violated this treaty.
Number 3.
China's sweeping claims of sovereignty over the sea have antagonized competing claimants Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, Taiwan, Indonesia, and the Philippines. United States, Japan and India favors freedom of navigation, as it is a very important sea route with $5 trillion in trade, half of global merchant shipping and half of world's oil shipment pass through it. The sea also has alleged 11 billion barrels of untapped oil, and 190 trillion feet 3 of natural gas. The Philippines approached International Tribunal for arbitration and argued that Chinese activity in the region was violating international law. On July 12, judges at Hague Tribunal rebuked China's claims over the waters. The landmark decision rejected China's assertion that it enjoys historical rights over a huge area of the South China Sea encompassed by Nine-Line. China had argued that the tribunal had no jurisdiction in the matter and rejected the decision. Many complex disputes have been resolved with this type of arbitration, including maritime boundaries. China's outright rejection symbolizes its high-handed behavior and utter disregard for international norms.
Number 2.
From military hardware to industrial goods, China has carried out extensive and very aggressive espionage. Many countries like US and Russia have been its target. Officials and organizations have traced various attacks on corporates and government computer systems in US to computers in China. The attack in some cases are so sophisticated that it will be impossible to perpetrate without the backing of Chinese government. China has denied accusations of cyber warfare, but experts believe otherwise. China has gained lots of grounds in last decade, having stolen design data of many US and Russian systems and have brazenly produced copies with total disregard of intellectual property rights and ethical behaviors. The astonishing similarities leave little doubt about Chinese activities of cyber espionage and reverse engineering. To know in details, watch the 2 videos on cards above.
Number 1.
In supporting Pakistan, China has gone as far as protecting well-known terrorists. China extended technical hold on India's move to get Pakistan-based Jaish-e-Mohammed chief Masood Azhar, designated a terrorist by the United Nations. The Chinese technical hold was set to lapse, and had China not raised further objection, the resolution designating him as a terrorist could stand passed automatically. Masood Azhar's outfit Jaish-e-Mohammed carried out a string of deadly attacks against Indian targets, including the attack on the Indian Parliament in December 2001. Soon after the Indian Parliament attack, he was detained for a year by Pakistani authorities in connection but was never formally charged. The Lahore High Court ordered an end to the house arrest on the 14th of December 2002. It must be noted that India is not alone in its bid to get Azhar listed as terrorist, as the US, the UK and France had co-sponsored the resolution seeking his listing, and all the members except China supported it. In June last year, China had blocked India's demand for taking action under the Council's anti-terrorism resolutions against Pakistan for releasing Lashkar-e-Taiba commander Zaki-ur Lakhvi, the mastermind of the 2008 Mumbai attacks.
Thanks for watching.